world. I am Lindsay Helm, founder of Empower Employ, where we are empowering the military community through corporate education and technology solutions. And this is Empower Hour. If this is your first time joining us on Empower Hour, we use Empower Hour as an opportunity. It is our weekly live series where we introduce the world to some of the employment landscape and military community, employment landscape leaders that are changing the way that business is done in the community, as well as community leaders and companies who are really interested in hiring from the military spouse and veteran community and hopes to raise the brand awareness about that company. So today I'm really excited because I am joined by Adam Devine. And Adam is a talent acquisition operations manager for InformData, who was formerly SJV Data Solutions. I may have said that wrong. He can correct me. Adam joined the Army at 20 as an infantryman, deployed to Iraq, and was involved in an incident that required him to leave the military. But he is here with us today to discuss his transition and the opportunities that he has with InformData. So welcome my guest, Adam Devine. Hey there, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. I'm so glad to have you here. So let's just get straight to it. So Adam, let's talk a little bit about, you shared with us, your transition, but let's share with the rest of the world kind of your transition story, who you are, and what you currently do at InformData. So it's like 3 questions rolled into one.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I joined the military at 20, prior to infantryman. I loved it. Then in 2007, we had, as you so delicately put it, an incident with an IED. After the IED, they said, you can't be in the infantry anymore. And I said, okay, that's it for me. I got out, and then I took advantage of the GI Bill, and I went back and I got my degree. And after that, I started at what at the time was SJV and Associates as our first employee in the state of Maine as a court researcher. Then SJV and Associates became SJV Data Solutions, and after a recent merger, we are now InformData, where I am the talent acquisition operations manager.
Very nice. So tell us a little bit about kind of InformData and what they do, and then second to that, what made you want to create a military hiring initiative? I mean, I feel like I could answer that question for you, but I feel like you should get to tell everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So InformData, we are an industry leader in the wholesale screening side of things, which is just a fancy way of saying bulk background checks, if we wanted to simplify it. And what really made me want to start a military spouse hiring program and hiring veterans and stuff like that is after I got hurt, I spent a lot of time down at Brooke Army Medical Center. And while I was there, I was just watching so many different service members come through with all these really tough injuries, and all their families that would just come down, didn't matter what they had going on in their personal life, whether they were working on a degree, whether they had a job, handling a bunch of kids all at once or anything like that. All of a sudden, they had to become full-time wound care and experts and nurses on the drop of a dime. There was no real rhyme, reason, or warning to that anything was about to happen and their lives were about to change, but they just had to drop everything and start all over again. And I just recall at the time thinking, boy, it would be really cool if they could bring their job with them. And fast forward several years, and here we are. And I had an opportunity to talk to my boss, Kirk Lord, and we were trying to find a new candidate pool that we could draw on for some of our remote positions. And it just clicked. Military spouses made the most sense.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. So this is just a shameless plug on the military community and military spouses in general. I think companies really underestimate the flexibility in personality, how much hurry up and wait or pivotal changes constantly happen, and how we just have this amazing ability to adapt and overcome, which I think is really awesome. So I'm really glad to hear that Inform is doing that. I know that you've built quite a following with all the people that you've placed. Can you guesstimate how many veterans and spouses you've placed between SJV and now? I mean, the number doesn't really matter, but I could probably guess it's quite a few.
So I think when we started, we had 15 military spouses working for us that we were unaware of. And since we got the program up and going and really moving, I want to say that we've hired probably north of 250 military spouses, some of which, we're using SJV or InformData as a stop by. Hey, I need a job for 6 months, and we were happy to have them, and we hope to have them again in the future. But I think as of right now, we have over 100 military spouses working for us. The really cool thing is, there are military spouses now in senior management positions within InformData that I recall screening for the entry level role that we were initially hired them for. So, for example, our newest manager of international solutions, Ashton Bush, she started as a remote verification specialist, very entry level job, $12 an hour. And just in a few years, she was able to climb from that entry level role to become a supervisor in our verifications department. And now she's one of our senior managers handling the international department. And it's so cool to see a military spouse who just needed a chance, really just take that opportunity and run with it.
Yeah, and I love hearing about the career progression. And I know sometimes people say you need to take like a step back to take a step forward. And sometimes that's true depending on kind of where you are, where you live, and whatever. And sounds like if that was the case with her in particular, that formerly SJV, stepped in and, got her to where she wanted to go ultimately. So I just I'll answer the questions in the chat in a minute. It's the first series. I just got a slew of them, but I'll get there. Distracted me. So the next question I kind of wanted to ask is, did you have a mentor to get to where you are today, or who helped you get to where you are within your company?
Absolutely. And that would be my boss, the director of talent management, Kirk Lord. The military spouse program doesn't happen without Kirk Lord saying, you know what, that's a really good idea. Let's run with it. Show me what you can do with it. He's the type of guy that he's willing to hear any idea. He's willing to allow you the freedom that you need to either succeed or fail. But he's not going to dismiss something out of hand. And that's something that he continues to do today. And I like to remind him, when I first started working for Kirk, when he joined the company, one of the things that I found super duper intimidating was Microsoft Excel. I didn't understand it. I didn't know how to use it. And I recall in my first one-to-one, he said, "What's your goal for this year?" And I said, "Man, I would really love to learn how to do a pivot table." And these days we're busting out all kinds of crazy formulas and pivot tables and, sharing documents across things. And it's amazing. He teaches so much without it feeling like you're being lectured. You know what I mean? You learn through doing. And in that way, it doesn't even really feel like he's teaching you anything. He's just showing you the ropes and you just learn along the way. And it's been great.
Yeah, and I've actually worked with Kirk before, and everything Adam says is amazing. And he's just so willing to learn and always so happy, like always.
Yeah.
Happy. Like
He's always in a great mood.
Yeah. So anyway, so for everybody in the chat that's asking questions, I promise let's just take a second because there are a couple. I feel like they're like coming in. So the first question is, what company is this? I currently work in a business-to-business lead gen and marketing role for a company, but I'm looking to switch. So the company is InformData. Their website is on the ticker, and you can apply on their website. There we go. It's up on the ticker, informdata.com. Apply, and one of their human resources specialists will actually reach out to you. They have some of the fastest response rates I've ever seen in the entire world. But on that note, I would guess that when you talk about Adam, let's dig into this for a second. We're going to go off the cuff, but it's related to the question. What is a court records researcher, or the current positions that you have? Like very vanilla, explain, like what does that look like?
So I want to make it clear, like we are always hiring, except at the moment. We are in the process of becoming InformData, finalizing the merge and everything else like that. And while that happens, we are kind of in a hiring lull, but I expect we are going to hit the road running here within the next couple of weeks. So everybody, if you don't get a job immediately, if you're not contacted immediately, that's why. I assure you we're not ignoring your message. But kind of high level view of all the roles. So a remote verification specialist, which is our most common role, and one that is most applicable to the military spouse community, just because you can do it from anywhere, is it's essentially a call center job. Anything that someone might put on their resume, we verify. So if somebody says, hey, I have a degree from MIT and I've worked for NASA for the past 10 years, we just call NASA and we verify, hey, has John or Jane Smith been here for the past 10 years? We call MIT, hey, did this person matriculate? And that's essentially what the remote verification specialist role is. We also have criminal records research analysts, and those are essentially online criminal records researchers. They use online databases and accesses court clerk records repositories, I forgot the word there for a second, to access publicly available information to conduct background checks on individuals as part of the pre-employment screening package. The court researchers do the exact same thing, except they're actually boots on the ground. They go into the physical courthouse and they access the public access terminals to conduct criminal and civil background checks on applicants for roles.
There we go. Unmute is not my favorite thing. It's like that. So, okay. Well, that is a lot of information. The other question I got was, do you also hire caregivers? And my response, I like to compare it to your response, is that InformData will hire any willing person that is able to meet the basic requirements, regardless of military affiliation or not. They do not discriminate based on, gender, race, marital status, military community affiliation. If you're here and you're part of the military community, you are more than welcome to apply. If you are not a part of the military community, guess what? You can still apply and you're not going to get ignored. It's great. They are just a really good rowdy bunch. Did I miss anything in that response, Adam?
I don't think so. I think you nailed it right on the head. If you come to us with a positive attitude, the sky's the limit. We're happy to have you.
Okay. And the other question that I saw, which I think is in the same category, is do you hire caregivers? I think I asked that already. The answer is yes. Anyone who is willing, able, and meets the requirements. I got another question from a viewer. This is so cool to see all you guys out there. It says, is this show recorded? Yes. You can rewatch Empower Hour on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/empoweremployee. You can rewatch it on our website. It'll be here on LinkedIn. I think someone touched on, another question, which was grateful for our support towards military spouses. Former military spouses are equally untouched on the market. In my world, once you've been a part of this community, whether you were married, divorced, remarried, whatever, you're still a part of this community, and it still falls into that realm that you can still apply to any of the positions, and I will still equally advocate for you because life happens. Hannah asked, oh my gosh, so many questions. Hold on. So I'm going to pause the questions so I can finish the interview and I will get back to all the questions. I'm so glad to see all of you. Okay. So a couple more questions and we'll go in and we'll answer a couple more of the conversation. So, for you, Adam, talking about your transition and talking to the military spouse population today, aside from the questions in the chat, our question for you is, what is the best piece of advice you can give to the community, specifically the veteran community or the military spouse community, when they're feeling defeated in that transitional, part of their life?
The short answer is don't get down on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Rome wasn't built in a day. And this is so cliche, but every quote unquote failure is an opportunity. So you didn't get that job that you just interviewed for. Well, that means you're meant to get the next job or the next job or the next job. You will find something. If you're in a rough patch, because I've been there. All right. I'm sure, Lindsay, you've been there. Everybody in the military community who has served has had that moment. You're down on yourself. You just don't get it. You don't understand what you're doing wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. Things take time. Keep your chin up. Keep a positive attitude. Positive things happen to positive thinkers. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Just don't beat yourself up and keep trying. And eventually you will succeed.
Yeah. So, and I have one more question that we usually use to close this out, but the spouse population has come for you today, Adam. You are extremely popular. So let's just use some of the questions that we have. And thank you so much for joining us today. If you're just tuning in, recap for you. This is Adam. He is with InformData. He is the head of their what's your official title now? Operations.
I am the talent acquisition operations manager.
Yeah. Fancy. So if you missed the first half of the live stream, you can rewatch it again on YouTube. But he is here to discuss the positions with InformData. So Hannah wants to know, is there growth within these positions? And the answer is?
Well, a resounding yes.
A resounding yes.
So just so everybody knows, again, this is patience is a virtue. People want to come into the company. All right, how quickly can I get promoted? Well, at the bare minimum, you have to do 4 months in the role that you're hired for. Recruiting, doesn't matter if it's military spouse or it's just anybody out in the community. Recruiting does take resources. Got to pay the recruiters, the cost to do the background checks, to ship people equipment. And what we figured is that basically 4 months is when we recoup the investment to hire you. After 4 months, you're eligible to apply for any internal roles that we have within the company. And we have several dozen military spouses and veterans who started in an entry-level role and are now serving in a supervisory capacity within the department that they were hired in, or they decided, you know what, I want to try client services. I want to go over there and see what that's like. And they move over into different parts of the company. So they may may move vertically within after that 4 months, or they may make a lateral move, spend another 4 months learning a different part of the company, and then start climbing within that department. We have so many different things to offer at InformData. But we have the verifications department, we have criminal records processing, we have research, we have quality, we have client services, we have IT, we have sales. It's really what you want to do. And one of my favorite things to do with new hires, and this is all new hires, not just those in the military spouse or the veteran community, is I love sitting down with new hires and say, what do you want to do? And it sounds like a very simple question, but a lot of people, they start a new job and they don't know what they want to do. So I like having that conversation. What do you like? What don't you like? What interests you? What are your aspirational goals? Are you still in school? What do you want to do with that degree? We may find out, you took a verifications job, but really your heart and soul is going to be in the client services side of things. You love the customer service world. And I love having that conversation with people. I love figuring out what you want to do, and I like helping you get there. Because then when you achieve your goals, when you're in that spot where you want to be, when you're doing that job you love to do, then I get to look back and say, you know what? I helped make that happen. And that makes me so happy.
But more importantly on all of that, and I will answer some more of the questions, what I wanted to highlight in everything that Adam just said is that Inform is really focused on the retention rate of their military spouse and veteran population. Time after time again, and the reason that we exist is we help build the corporate education programs. This is a highlight on us, but that help companies like InformData retain that talent and nurture the demographic. And having somebody like Adam, sitting in the seat doing that at Inform is amazing. And as they continue to grow, we'll continue to partner there. But Adam is doing a great job with that. So let's take it back to the questions, and then I will give you, there are 4 questions in the chat. Mandy wants to know, are you accepting resumes for future positions? I was recently laid off as a talent acquisition specialist.
Absolutely. So one of the things we have on our careers page, or it may not, check that, it might not be on our careers page, but I would be happy to send you the link. Anybody on this call, is we have a military spouse general application. This is just a way for you to park your resume with us. Let us know what you're interested in. We're going to send you a link to the culture index, which is kind of like a job placement survey we use as part of our hiring process. And then we keep your resume on file. And then as new positions come open and available, we reach out to you and we say, hey, we have an opportunity in our verifications department. Are you interested? And please, so many people feel like if we reach out and we ask you about a job, they're forced to say yes, because if they say no, we're not going to contact them again. No, by all means, tell me the truth. I would rather you say, hey, you know what, that doesn't sound like it's for me, rather than try to force you into a job that your heart's not really in. So if you're not interested in a role, please feel free to tell me. And then the next time a job comes up, I'm going to ask again. I'm going to keep asking until we can find something for you. And if we can't find something for you, for 6 months or something like that, well, no big deal. We'll reach out, we'll recalibrate, and we'll keep trying until we get you what you need.
That's amazing. And the other questions that I got, so everybody's like, we'd appreciate the link. So the link is in the comments. Everybody take a quick look, like it really quick, pin it, copy and paste it. So the other couple of questions that I got is their scheduled hours or flexibility. I'm looking for part-time or full-time with a little flexibility, such as school drop-off. So in this particular person, I actually know the person asking this question. She's followed us since the beginning of time. Husband is deployed, at home with small children, wants to work remote, sound like anybody we know, basically our entire population at some point. So is there flexibility with the role? I want to be able to drop off my kids and mom and then, come back to work.
So within our remote verification specialist role, we have a tremendous amount of scheduling freedom. And the cool thing is you get to pick your schedule. Pretty much the hard and fast rule is if you can do either a 5 or an 8-hour schedule between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., we can make it work for you. Part-time roles are 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. Full-time roles are 8.5-hour days, 5 days a week. Why 8.5 and not 8? It's because you punch out for a half an hour for lunch. We want to make sure you get your full 8, so you get your full 40. If you need time to drop off your kids at school or anything else like that, our supervisors are super flexible. Our biggest thing is we just need communication. In a remote work environment, communication between the employee and the leader in charge of that employee is so important, because you don't get that face-to-face interaction that you would in a brick and mortar establishment. So as long as you communicate your needs to your supervisor, we will make it work. We have a number of military spouses in the exact same situation who came in, told us what they needed. We figured out a way to make it work, and now they're killing it.
Yeah, and I'll highlight, we recently got to partner with Inform on a couple of their positions and wanted to share kind of a quick success story before we answer another question. So Inform has taken at one point a set of spouses that maybe were entry level in the recruitment space, brought them on, trained them. And after that contract ended, one of the spouses with a GED recently got signed on with Hertz Rental here in Hawaii, working remotely as a technical recruiter, doubled her salary with amazing benefits. So sometimes these opportunities, if they are flex or a learning opportunity, land in something bigger, and that has completely changed her life. And she got all of that mentorship and help from companies here at InformData and Empower Employees. So it was really, really kind of awesome. The other question I got asked was, do you offer part-time, full-time, or flex opportunities? How flexible are the jobs? I think we covered most of that, but maybe just touch on the full-time or part-time.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have part-time shifts. Now, we do 25 hours a week is what we like out of the part-timers because it's a consistent 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. Now, if there is a unique circumstance and, you're interested in it, we can make a 20-hour schedule work, but 20 is as low as we can go as far as the part-time capabilities that we have the ability to offer. Full-timers, like I said, 8.5 hour shifts with a half an hour for lunch and 2 15-minute breaks. Now, these are all specific to our remote verifications department. If you start getting into our more operational roles in the research side of things, it is necessary that you work a standard like 8 to 5. And the reason for that is because that's when the courts are open. A big part of our job it revolves around interaction with courts and court clerks because we need to be able to access and confirm information on the court records. So our scheduling capabilities do get a little bit more limited on the operation side of things, but in our verifications department, if you come to me and you give me a schedule that you can stick to, even if it's a split schedule, if you have to do 5 hours on Monday, but then 4 hours on Tuesday and 6 hours on Wednesday, and then 5 hours on Thursday and 5 hours on Friday, we can make it work. Just tell us what you need with full transparency and we can make it work. We do have sometimes though, we get people who are just so afraid to tell us no. They don't want to tell us exactly what they need because they don't want to seem difficult and they feel like they're going to lose out on the opportunity. And then, they tell their supervisor after the fact and they go, oh, well, we can't make that work. We didn't know about it on the front end. If you just tell us about it right up front, we can do our best to make it work. But we need to know about any challenges before we get the ball rolling.
That's absolutely fair. And that's great advice. So I'm going to take 2 more questions from the chat, and then I'm going to ask you our final question. So I'm going to kind of go in order. So Nessa wants to know what kind of benefits that Inform offers, if any, or what the type of employment is, but I think that's kind of a multi-layered question, because if you're doing like software engineering and you're on the IT side of the house, it's a different setup than, your court records research program. So I would be interested in hearing
so
about it.
As far as part-timers are concerned, now I benefits and stuff, that's the HR side of the house. I really I do want to add the caveat that I am not an expert. I may be misquoting old benefits packages that were available as part of the SJV data solutions. So no promises here, but generally I feel pretty confident in saying that on the part-time side of things, we don't offer the standard, health, medical, and dental. All our full-time roles, you get all the benefits. Our part-time roles, the only benefit available to part-time employees is our employee assistance program, which I am such a big fan of. And for those who aren't familiar with the EAP, basically I view it as the bat signal in your pocket. No matter what is going on in your life or any member of your household's life, you call this number and the company will figure out a way to assist you. If, maybe holiday shopping got a little out of control and you need to talk to an accountant to help you balance your checkbook, you call this number, we can put you in touch with the people that you need to speak with. Maybe you're backing out of your driveway and you run over your neighbor's cat and now you're being sued. You could call this number. We'll figure out a way to get you connected with a lawyer, get you a consultation. The world's a crazy place right now. Maybe you want to talk to a counselor for a little bit, but you're unsure how to do it. Call this number. We'll figure out a way to get you in touch with who you need to talk to. That's available to all of our employees, part-time or full-time, and it's available to every member of your household. That's you, that's your husband, that's your wife, that's your kids. Now, if you're a full-timer, you get the big 3. You get health, vision, and dental. You get life insurance and and I don't want to promise anything else without consulting with HR to really validate what we do still have, so because I don't want to speak out of turn. But I feel confident in saying we do have those for full-time employees.
High-end overview. Okay. So there is one more question, but I think I'm just going to answer it because I think it's covered. How do you handle time of change such as PCS, deployment, or homecoming? Is there flexibility for life changes? I think we've kind of touched on this already. So it kind of depends on the role that you have with InformData. But what I believe Adam has expressed in summary is to openly communicate with your supervisor. This is not an environment at Inform where you have to be afraid to be a military spouse. They are seeking you out and they truly understand the challenges that you face. Same in the veteran population. So I would encourage you that if you apply and you have a homecoming or a PCS or a deployment or a doctor's appointment or a kid PTA thing, whatever it is, Adam has the same thing that he has to be at minus the deployment, right? He has doctor's appointments, he has kids, he has a spouse, he has travel. It's just open communication with your supervisor and your team. So Adam, it has been great. This has been one of the best Empower Hours ever. You're so popular and I would love to keep you much longer. But I have to close out today with one of our final questions. And one of our final questions that's really easy, it's always fun, is what was your favorite duty station and why?
I'm a big fan of the snow. I liked Fort Drum, but as crazy as it is, my time at BAMC at Fort Sam Houston was my favorite duty station for one reason and one reason only. They have the most amazing restaurant I've ever been to in my entire life. It is the pinnacle of culinary achievement, and it is called Taco Cabana. It is my favorite taco joint in the world, and they have the best tortillas ever. And I think they only exist in Texas. So I will make a pilgrimage back to Texas so I can get some delightful steak tacos from Taco Cabana.
Yeah, and Fort Drum was actually where I launched in Power Employee and where I met Adam for the first time. So it does have some near and dear places to my heart, but I actually really hate the snow, which is why we live in Hawaii. Sorry, y'all. So everyone, I want to thank you so much for joining. Give a shout out to InformData, formerly SJV, as they are crafting and forming their program. So lucky to have them as partners with such an amazing team there. Join us next week on Empower Hour, where I get to interview the one, the only, the viral Rochelle Fulch as she discusses her interactions in Facebook groups and dealing with social media and talking about her viral posts and her challenges as a military spouse and veteran in this space. Thank you all for watching. I am Lindsay Helm, founder and CEO of Empower Employee, where we are empowering the military community through corporate education and technology solutions. See you next week. Invite your friends. Thanks for watching.